97.3 Citi FM. Relevant radio, always.
Nana, people say corruption is endemic. It's become the way we live. People want to know your approach to tackling corruption and your pledge. Are you going to uproot it? Are you going to minimize it? How are you going to deal with corruption?
I think that to some extent, with respect, the way those questions are put in themselves shows the difficulty in dealing with uprooting it. I don't think that any society in the world has uprooted corruption. Okay. What most places have tried to do is to minimize it and reduce its impact on the way that the national economies work. And I think that has to be. But the goal will continue the path that was begun, which is to create the legal framework that will impact on corruption. When I was Attorney General, we passed the Public Procurement Act, the Whistleblowers Act. Several pieces of legislation came into place, if fully enforced, would be very, very significant in the fight against corruption. If it is required that any time there's a public works of a certain size, then it should be won through a tendering process. If you're going to do it through sole sourcing, you've already lost one part of the handle on the fight against corruption. So the law is in place. But whether are you going to implement it or not? Yes. You'll make the clear decision. You're going to implement it. You're going to make the tendering for public works, public businesses, the norm, not the exception. The last 5 years, we've seen the thing turn the other way around, where virtually everything that has been done by the state has been done through a process of sole sourcing. Obviously, immediately, a very important handle in the fight against corruption has been loosened. We are going to restore the tendering process to make sure that unless there are stringent reasons why the procurement process should end up in a sole sourcing, tendering becomes the norm, not the exception. I think you will see from that straight away the impact that it will have on our public finances. We're going to be able to save much more. We're going to get much more value for doing business than what we're getting at the moment, which has brought this atmosphere or reality of widespread corruption in our system. So the laws are in place. Are you going to be able to implement them? I think that one of the things that has come up, which has caused a great deal of discussion, is the position of the Attorney General in the fight against corruption. Most people have now come to the conclusion that an Attorney General in a party system government, a party system of government, may be in a difficult place when it comes to potentially prosecuting fellow ministers. I don't happen to agree with that thinking, because when I was Attorney General, I authorized the prosecution of a fellow minister. But that's another story. But at the moment, public opinion in Ghana is of the view that we need somebody else than the Attorney General to be charged with that responsibility. I believe that if we move to the system whereby we will set up an office of a special prosecutor, someone who's appointed in a way in which it is independent of the executive, give him the prosecutorial authority independently of the executive, and leave him to tackle him or her to tackle issues of corruption, may be yet another important step in the fight against corruption. So at the end, okay, public exhortations are very important. Personal example, of course, is absolutely critical. I mean, if it is seen that at the top of the system is somebody who is saying no to corruption, who's himself not getting involved in it, actions that may be questionable, obviously that gives a certain inspiration to the system as to what we need to do. But essentially, at the end of the day, is the legal regime that you have in place. Are you going to enforce that legal regime? Are you going to make it possible for people to do their work properly, having regard to the laws that you have on this?